Green has blocked all of white's options. So blocking is valuable in terms of the more spaces you block, the less likely it is that your opponent can move, and vice versa. This is not just true if you have captured pieces, but is also true at later other parts of the board. Now let's take a look at an example of blocking value. If you look in front of us here, green has blocked 5 out of the 6 spaces. White can only get in with a 4, so there's about a 69.44% chance that white can't move, and if green blocks them all, then white's in trouble. Here, white can't move with a 5 and a 3. Now green has blocked all 6, and as you can see as the game winds out, green builds up a sizable advantage to where green only has 26 spaces to move, where white has to move 77 spaces, and it's going to be green's turn coming up. So green has a huge advantage here. Let's take a look at bad captures. Now if we look at this roll right here, white has rolled a 5 and a 2, and white could capture green's piece. However, it's not such a good capture, and the reason why is that if white captures that piece, green would have to move 25 spaces, and at the moment green only has to move 24 spaces, so we're only gaining 1 spot. So basically white risks having to start over. They'll lose 25 spaces if green were to recapture white's piece, and to recapture, all green would need to do is roll a 1 on the next turn. Green only loses 1 space. If you look at the dice odds, there's a decent chance that green could roll a 1 in the next turn. In fact, there's a 30.56% chance, or 11 and 36. Now if you take a look at this other example here, white is tempted to capture green's piece. Not a good capture here because white risks having to start over. They could lose 20 spaces. If green rolls a 5 or some combination of 5, there's a 15 or 36 chance, or 41.7%, and green only loses 5 spaces here. And the odds of green getting a 5 are, pretty good if you look at how that pans out. Another tip we have here is that captured pieces have to move farther, or move more. If you look at these pieces for green, they have to move quite a ways because they've been captured and they've had to start over again. And it takes a while to get them home, and so forth. Now these pieces highlighted in blue for green don't have to move so far to get to the end. Now if we break down this board into captured and safe pieces, we'll notice the captured pieces, if pieces can be captured, are stacked 1 high, while the safe pieces are stacked 2 or higher. So if you can, try to keep your pieces stacked 2 or higher, and if you're going to give up a capture, try to have one that it won't cost you a lot to start over on. Now let's take a look at combining 2 gappers. If we look at this example in front of us, we have 2 piles with 2 gaps, and we happen to roll a 1 and a 3, which is a 2 gapper. What we want to do is we want to take the 1 and take the 3 and put it in this pile right here. We stack them on top of each other so the piece cannot be captured, and it takes or gives green 1 less option, and it gives us more options as we roll further on. So we move those 2 pieces there. 2 gappers, at least early on, can be 1-3, 2-4, 3-5, and 4-6. Also, it doesn't just have to be 2 gappers. Later in the game, you could have 2 piles with 3 gappers or 4 gappers. But you want to keep that in mind in case you get a weird combination of rolls that you can combine gaps that way. Now let's take a look at some creative combos. And, okay. We rolled a 3 and a 2. If we're playing Brain Dead, we might just say, okay, we move 3 and then move 2, and we move right there. Okay, well that's nice because the piece can't get captured, but we can do better than that. And how can we do better than that? Well, if you look at this piece right here, we'll take the 3, capture this green piece, and then we want to get out of trouble because we don't want to leave our piece there for recapture. So we're going to take the 2, we're going to stack it right up there. And what we'll do is we will avoid getting captured by our opponent, because we would hate to capture this piece and have our opponent roll a 3, and then we have to start over again and go all the way, or possibly roll a 5 or 6 and we can't even move. Here's another example of creative combo in front of us here. There's a 6 and a 4 toward the end of the game. Now, what we could do is take a 6 and put it there. However, there's one downside to that, and that is that green can capture our piece if they roll basically any 2, which is not good for us. So the safer route is to take the 4, move it there, and then use the 6 to get our piece safely. And oh, by the way, none of our pieces can be captured on the next turn. Now, when we make captures, we want to try to make low-risk captures. So if we look at this board in front of us here, we're looking at this white piece at the bottom right-hand corner. Now we've rolled a 6 and a 3, or a 3 and a 6. We can combine those dice, in this case it would be 3 and then 6, to capture this green piece right here. Okay, so we move 3, then we move 6, and then we've captured a piece. Now, why is this a low-risk capture? Well, because it has low recapture risk. Even though we kind of left our piece out to dry, it could be recaptured. But the odds of that are unlikely, because it can only be recaptured if green rolls a 2, and green also has to get its captured piece out, which has to move right here, and that could be a 1, 3, 4, or 5. So it has to roll with a 2 and a 3, 2, 1, 2, 4, 2, 5. Now, if you look at the possible dice ways it can roll, there's a very small amount of combinations that way. In fact, it's only 8 out of 36, or 22% chance that green could roll and actually recapture. And also, green has to spot the move. If the player doesn't see the move, they could make that roll and still miss the opportunity to recapture. So this capture is good, and it sets green back 14 spaces. And there's also an 11% chance, because we blocked 2 spaces, that green can't move at all. So this is a good low-risk capture. Another thing I've learned is that you want to try to keep pieces back for potential capture. That is, until you get a good roll. So I've got these pieces back here for potential capture of green, and we wait till we get a good roll, such as 2 4s, 2 5s, 2 6s, whichever will get you out of there. And what that does is it kind of puts green into pension. It takes away some of green's moves, and it keeps white from potentially getting captured, and then white can set up there. And what you want to do is, you want to reduce your opponent's safe moves. Another strategy you want to look at, or try to set up over multi-moves, is to try to give your opponent less options. If you look here, white has a number of pieces set up in 2 or 3, or they've actually maximized the number of setups they could have with that are stacked too high, and green cannot move there. Green can move in all these spaces, but green cannot move what I've got highlighted in yellow. So you want to try to give them less options to do that. Here's another example of how you could go about setting it up. Let's say you roll 2, 2. Now, one option is you could capture this green piece, move two of these 4 spaces, and another option is you could simply take the 2, move there, and take the other 2 and move those 2 pieces forward, to have essentially taken away 4 potential moves, or 4 potential spaces that green can move, and gives us more options in case we get a weird roll later in the game as well. When we get later in the game, we want to try to use smart combos to avoid capture. We want to try it to be brain dead, where we have a game that's easy win turn out into a loss, or closer than it should be. Here we're playing as white, and we rolled a 2 and a 5. Now, if we're playing brain dead, we take the 2 piece right here and move that home, and then move the 5 piece home. But unfortunately, if you see these 2 pieces right here that I've highlighted, those pieces become vulnerable to capture, because green has a piece that's captured there. And in fact, if you look at the probability, or the possible dice ways that green could capture that piece, there's a lot of chances. It comes out to 20 and 36, or a 55.56% chance that green could capture one of white's pieces and possibly have a chance to win the game or make the game last longer than it should. So you want to try to always use smart combos, especially later in the game, to avoid being captured, to where we don't have one piece hanging if we can. So try to think the rolls through. So basically, we take the 5, run it home, and then we take the 2 from the piece in the 5 spot, and we'll stack it up top there, and that way we cannot be captured on this next turn here. This next tip is we want to try to avoid, if we can, wasted potential dice rolls. And what I mean by that is, well, white has a minimum of 69 spaces to win, while green has a total, if we look at add it up all here, 63 spaces to win. And it's white's turn, so it's a balanced game. But one problem white has is that all these spaces right here, if we were to take out these 2 pieces that have to go 44 spaces, let's say these 2 pieces are out. Okay, let's say white rolls 5 and a 6, and white is toward the end. Well, that's going to equal 3-3, 2-3. So white has wasted 5 potential moves in a dice roll. There, white can't take advantage of that, and it's hard to close the gap if you roll good numbers later when you have an imbalance like this, because you can't take full advantage of the rolls. Now let's say we got rid of the 3 space and we got rid of the 2 white on the top. Well, now 5-6 is going to equal 2 2s, and it's the same, for higher numbers. So that's something we want to try to avoid, the imbalance if we can. Here, if we look at this, is a more extreme example of an imbalance. Sometimes you don't have a choice if your opponent boxes you in. If you look at the board for white, all white's pieces are in this one spot right here, so 5-6 is equal to 2 1s, and so are all these other dice rolls. They're only going to equal 2 1s, so there's a lot of wasted potential here. And if white gets a really good roll, let's say 2s, 3s, 4s, 5s, 6s, they're going to equal 4 1s, assuming this top white piece has been moved out. And it's going to make it much harder for white to close the gap and win the game here. And this wraps up our video. Thank you for watching.